I worry about him, frankly.
Fears are growing for the fate of US soldier Travis King, who this week crossed into North Korea. US officials say attempts to find out what happened to him are yet to receive any response from Pyongyang. The 23-year-old had been facing disciplinary action from the army before he fled. Here's US Army Secretary Christine Wormuth.
The Department of Defense, the State Department, the White House, we're using UN channels, have been reaching out to the DPRK to get information about his status and to work with them to try to, bring him back, obviously, to the United States. But at this time, I don't think very much is known, and I don't think that we have successfully made contact with the North Korean authorities.
Wormuth went on to cite the case of another American detainee, Otto Warmbier. The US college student was imprisoned in North Korea for 17 months. When he was released in 2017, he was in a coma and died shortly after he returned to the US.
It makes me very, very concerned that Private King is in the hands of the North Korean authorities. I worry about how they may treat him.
North Korea's state media, which has in the past reported on the detention of US nationals, has not commented on the incident so far. Meanwhile, a spokesperson for the Pentagon would not say if they believed King was alive and played down suggestions he might present an intelligence liability.
All I can say is that from when he crossed over to the DMZ, we know he is in custody of the North Koreans. But beyond that, in terms of his condition, I can't speak to that.
North Korea and the United States have no formal diplomatic ties following years of international sanctions imposed on the reclusive state for its nuclear arms and missile programs.
Email exchanges from inside the BBC, they talk about the risk of violating Indian laws. It's easier to rake up the freedom of speech debate, but does it give anyone a free pass to knowingly violate the law? America supports India because it needs India's support in return. And India is working with the US because it suits India's interests. This is how geopolitics works. Last night, he diffused a crisis with his defense minister. But today, Netanyahu was confronted with a new problem. His cabinet seems to have rebelled against him. The UK is looking at the Indian subcontinent to fill its coffers. That India seems to be negotiating from a position of power, like a partner and not a former colony. The US and Russia are dangerously close to an armed conflict. This year, 2023, New Delhi will be the capital of global diplomacy. For a country as diverse as ours, with 88% of the population illiterate, it was a very big deal to write a constitution, and that too, the world's largest. Meanwhile, if we may, here's a Republic Day gift from India for the BBC. A list of suggestions for the BBC for their upcoming documentaries. Number 1, the Kohinoor and the colonial loot. Number 2, an outdated monarchy and unhealthy obsession with the royals. Number 3, racism in 2023. We're waiting.